Thank you for your attendance has been noted. Also joining us today is city staff, including Executive Director Jonathan Bluss, and Project Manager Mel Renta, and
Gabrielle Walker.
that's right. So we will now move on to non-agenda public comment. Public was invited to submit public comment on agenda and non-agenda items via a web form accessible through the agenda and the commission website. Members of the public may also join this meeting in person and as webinar attendees. If members of the public have submitted comments in writing via the web form, staff will read aloud public comments submitted per city public comment protocol. I will now call on Val to please read aloud any non-agenda public comment or to call on any attendees who would like to provide comment.
Thank you, Chair. No members of the public are in attendance, online or in person.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving right along now, we will now move into our first action item. So I hope everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes from our April 14th, 2023 meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion, please, to approve the minutes as they are? Thank you for that, Commissioner Friedman. Let's see, do we have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Ofsted. Acknowledge, okay, let's see. We now have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Before we vote, Val, please read aloud any public comment.
No public comment.
I didn't think so. Now we will take a vote. I will call your name. Please respond out loud with yay, nay, or abstain. Please remember you do not need to have been present at the meeting to vote or discuss. Commissioner Hughes? Yay. Yay, terrific. Commissioner Ofsted?
Yay.
Okay, Commissioner Friedman?
Yay.
My vote is also a yay. Okay, now we're going to do a quick update from committee chairs. I'd like to invite Commissioner Hughes to please report out on policy and funding.
We have not had any meetings this time. We've not been able to reach quorum, but very excited for today's meeting. Very excited. We have a full agenda and lots of work to do.
Okay, terrific. Do you want to highlight any of the work for today?
Mostly related to the funding process and some updates from Executive Director Plus on the service and on signing contracts.
Okay, terrific. Let's see, next up would be Commissioner Ofsted to report out on public art.
Our meeting this afternoon has been postponed due to a lack of quorum, and so we're hoping to meet as a group. Because we have 3 projects that we're really excited to share with the entire commission. Hopefully meeting prior to our September 22nd.
Okay, do you want to highlight the 3 projects?
Got it.
Thank you for your honesty.
You're welcome.
Let's see, advocacy and outreach will meet later this afternoon, and we'll look forward to an update from Chair Philpott at our next meeting. And finally, Commissioner Friedman, did you want to update?
Yes, we have the tour of the Jacobs Symphony Hall on September 25th. And I think we're allowed up to 15. I think we're like at 9. Space. I'll send out another reminder to people, you know, to RSVP. Very good events. So push, nudge. But I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's when it's canceled.
right.
I was willing to go, but
All right, now, any public comment, Bill, with respect to that? Okay.
No, there is not.
All right, let's see. Now, has everybody had an opportunity to review the agenda for the September 22nd full commission meeting?
Are we confirmed for the space?
Bill?
We've actually been in the committee room for this meeting. We're going to be in council chambers and we are confirmed. Yesterday there was a leak, which that's what happened. So it's just an emergency.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, this looks good. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as is?
So much.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Friedman. Any discussion? Yes,
Due to the cancellations of a lot of our meetings since April, is there a possibility, I know other commissions might go dark during a certain month? And if we were to say, okay, the month of August, the month of July or something, wouldn't recommend July because it's so busy in San Diego, something like that to kind of work around and might just prevent that frustration of having to postpone and cancel the schedule.
Normally, we're dark in August,
probably we are.
so it's people have been dark.
Well, but like unless we have, there was an important issue or something like that, we could have the understanding. Just think about it.
I think that's kind of the unspoken thing that in the summer, but potentially now, especially with your recommendation, maybe in kind of April, May. You know, we'll have a better forecast and then maybe we can say with more clarity.
So we, to Ann's point, we try our best to not meet in August and December. The only time that we'll meet in August if there is time sensitive committee issues. Otherwise, we really try to talk about it. We didn't have much content in July. So that's why we pushed meetings into August. It sounds like maybe we've learned that August will often take as well. So to your point, we're happy to reinstitute that. It does mean projects need to slow down.
It would also possibly vacations would be designated a certain time rather than one plan. So I understand that, but if there was an emergency, you could ask.
Well, if we're gonna, go dark August, which I think is why, but also considering how impacted downtown San Diego is in late July, we might look at moving the July meetings earlier in the month. That way, we're not fighting trying to get down here, and that might make people a little less reticent to sign in.
Also, the airport.
Also, if you need a meeting, an ad hoc meeting, just call a meeting. Show up, which is a practical aspect. But I like the idea of staying in August whenever you want. No meeting unless there's an emergency, then we will call. And also, I don't know whether at that time it's possible to have exemption to do, but something. I don't know how that would work.
I don't think that's a decision that as a commission we get to make. I think it's a state level, right? And I thought that there was some action being taken to be able to, is there any report on?
There's a pending bill, but we won't see results for some time.
Until the
So
next
for
meeting?
now, yeah, we can't do any online.
Okay.
So just to remind everybody, as the chair, Anne can pre-approve up to 2 Zoom attendance per year per commissioner. For if you're traveling for work or something like that, but it is highly orchestrated. She actually has to approve it on the agenda the month prior. So it's not something that's really facile.
So if there was suddenly an outbreak again, you could not go back to that.
I think the state would probably declare an emergency and then it would rotate back, but short of that, I think we're,
That's right.
yeah.
Thank you for the
The thing I'm wondering about is because it's been so long since we've met, would it make sense for cultural plan to update?
Sure.
Would we need to add that to the agenda?
Based on the full commissioner agenda,
Yeah,
I was actually gonna just,
direct.
pull that in or build in director's reports. If you're asking for the consultants to attend, I don't remember when, they have an obligation to come.
I thought it was October. The next. One year with them for they were updated.
So I'll tell you what we can do is for the purposes of this agenda, if after, based on our conversation with David on Monday,
Mhm.
if it makes sense for him to come, we can just build it into the plan.
Okay, perfect.
Also, I have another suggestion, with regards to like public lives, or anything. Although we have to cancel today, do not have a public meeting next week or call a meeting because it's going to impact you getting another, may impact you getting another.
Right, and we have some things that are need to get moving.
Well, you think it's realistic to call a meeting next week?
Chuck did a survey to see if it's Friday. We have at the same time, I believe it's 12:30 is.
All right. But that doesn't mean, I mean, if you have a forum, I don't have to be there.
Right, so I think it's just
Right.
seeing, we have,
Or else following the.
right, if the following puts us at. Well,
Okay, I was just throwing it out there. Or else it doesn't have to be on Friday.
for reach out to Chuck.
Yeah, just, I'm just not flexible. I mean, it doesn't have to be every Friday. You can't have for a number of reasons. We have business to do. So.
I think we're trying to do it so that we, the EAC and the executive meeting, so you and I wouldn't have to be traveling down.
If in this instance, though, if it's needed, somebody can help send out a legal poll, that's what's needed.
Yeah, it's organizing three artists, so that was the issue.
Right, I guess. Okay, Bella, I'm assuming no public comment.
No public. comment.
Okay, so now we'll take a vote. Call your name, please respond with yay, nay, or abstain. Commissioner Hughes.
Yay.
Commissioner Ofsted.
Yay.
Commissioner Friedman.
Yay.
And my vote's a yay. Okay, next, we are going to turn it over to our executive director, Celeste. Please share staff reports with us. We have some exciting news.
We do. Which part of that is exciting?
You just.
Okay, so I actually have a pretty lengthy report, so I'll just start moving through this and please pause me or encourage me to move more quickly as
Good visual.
I don't have visuals.
Will you be singing?
Okay, so cultural planning updates. As you know, we had the second round of cultural planning this summer. We had really successful meetings in July at Museum of Contemporary Art downtown. I will say anecdotally, the most well-attended and engaged conversations with individual artists. The gallery, or excuse me, the art industry, meaning galleries, auction houses, that kind of thing, is actually really good, engaged group that we're going to brought together. Academics, lots of university colleges together. I attended that.
It was a big conversation.
These were not about volume, so the biggest group was probably 25 to 30. But people really, except for the artists by and large, people really tuned in to interesting conversations. So overall, we were very, very, very pleased. From here in, we have extended the survey until the end of September. We're at 720 people. We really want to give above 1,000. So anything you do on your media outlets, what have you, spread the word. We're going to do one more push within kind of organized systems in African American, AAPI, and Latino communities, probably through the chambers. Just looking at demographics, those are the communities that have been less engaged on the survey platform itself.
The landing page for the survey still said, because I was checking it the other day, and it still says ending August 31.
That should have been updated yesterday.
Okay.
And our website manager, Gabrielle, is sitting right there.
With the date updated.
What we did was we just removed the date.
It's,
Yep.
it said the survey on August 31st to go to.
Yeah.
September.
Yep, thank you very much. I had checked it on, what was that, Wednesday? So,
And I wanted to do a bunch for arts education, specifically K-12, and then this, but then for some, I didn't have access to my students, so it's actually really.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great, great, great.
Oh, nice. You're gonna have, oh, good, good, good. Okay.
I have an idea, a little bit more commercial. You know, apparently there's some big interior decoration
Yeah.
And the question is to try to engage them into discovering the art. Because they need art for a lot of their interior design. So for them to become involved, and become familiar with local artists here, it might be an interesting way to get that and artists, because the artists need money. And they carry that with charge for it, but they just want to get art. But I think it's a good art and culture, but art, especially very, very intrinsic to being interior decorative. And I think we should try to engage that youth, that community, to become more involved with our artists and what they really think.
So, really good thought. The most challenging, I say challenging, has been in the broad creative industries sector, with the exception of the festival event folks, the actual producers. They were very excited to be brought together. They have lots of concerns about permitting issues with the city. So they were all in. From the kind of perspective you're talking about, that really has been one of the hardest areas, and that's because they're not used to the city. Interesting. I mean, my personal takeaway from the last 4 months of engagement is there has historically been virtually no organized investment in creative industries outside of the nonprofit space in this town by our Chamber of Commerce, by our development corporation, by the city. They're not used to being asked to be involved. So the answer is yes, it's really, just something I don't have an art.
One of the simplest things that meet the artists. Invite these interior decorators come in. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. Other person on it. By just expanding that base.
So to take it even one step further, with a lot of our development, in District 5, we've got a bunch of really large, several $100 affordable housing developments going on. To work with developers instead of just using stock art, instead of that actually using our working artists to get that.
I just not aware of it.
As of now.
So that's actually a really interesting point. You're right. The way that these developers work, there's millions of dollars going into art in these private development spaces. Most of them hire consultants that are based in LA. Don't know the artists seeing here. So they, we're very comfortable. We push, but we can't mandate. So I now meet with consultants when they're taking on big projects anyway. Small projects like what you're talking about, they are private development, public art mandate doesn't require them to even meet with our staff. So that's actually something we really need to address. We need to be a lot more intentional around that. Spirit chair.
Well, that's where maybe commissioner of time that ad hoc committee to reach out and make it more to engage the level of interest in commercial. Yeah, I think that we should really just see, out of curiosity, see if there's something. It's just a matter of 2 phone calls. I don't know what that entails as far as what the commission, whether that's proposed.
No, it's not at all, as long as there is some kind of any suggested mandate. We can organize, we can suggest, we can convene.
What I'd like to do is have a informal conversation with a couple of interior decorating guys I know and say, do you think you're interested in something? Of course, yeah, just see what they have to say and say, hey, that I can at least get you 4 bodies in a room with some artists, so that you can art, or send them spot work. That's the other thing. is that we send these interior decorators and companies or communities, art on people, so they improve this.
That we can't do as a commission. What we can do is create opportunities for them to meet each other. But what I would suggest is a conversation for Bullock to better understand how we do work with the developers on private development. Like I said, I'm involved in very large ones. Christine Jones is involved in that kind of big and means. Laura Bullock manages that program, and so she's the one who's constantly on a daily basis talking to consultants.
Pretty difficult, you know, go through this application process, so that it means to transparent. So what that is, whatever conversation we have, you know, it's,
Well, so to be clear, it's not like this CIP program. They do not even need to show us the artists that they select. I'm not saying this is the best process. This is a process that we put in place. So it's just a conversation with the board if they ever understand it. That's actually a really important conversation for public art committee. Downtown Arts District, Lyceum Point Plaza Theater Foundation. So just to give you a status update, we've been working with the city people on the final materials for the Downtown Arts District. That will probably go to a confirmation, which is this council in December. It's going to be a very simple ordinance, it's not complicated, but that will allow us to officially hire Cindy Peters to manage the Downtown Arts District. So that's very exciting. What we will have more formal reports in October. Mission in October, and I are in November.
So one of at least one of the concerns that is a little bit out there is the inclusivity of who the San Diego Theater Arts Group will include being able to perform at that space. Can you just talk a little bit about how that works?
Yeah. So if we can, it's important to separate the Downtown Arts District and the Lyceum.
Yep.
So the Downtown Arts District is the marketing tool for that whole downtown area, right? The Lyceum, as you know, is still shuttered. Renovations continue. It's now, they anticipate, when I say they, Civic CPA anticipates a June reopening. Say a June completion. It's $14 million in renovations to the facility. Both of the figures are currently gutted, so brand new lighting, electricity, everything. So that's very exciting. Burton Plaza Theater Foundation, as you know, is going through a reorganization of how they would address operations of that site with the closure of the rep. They are in negotiations right now with San Diego Theaters Inc., which is the operator of Civic and the Balboa, to assume operational responsibilities on a contract basis of Lyceum. That would go into effect more or less in January, which would allow them to officially start booking the site. I'm going to again thank Tyler and Ann for sitting in some early conversations with San Diego Theaters and the Lyceum. What is being proposed by San Diego Theaters is that they step back and go to the roots of the Lyceum, which was intended 47 years ago to be to be a community platform for the performing arts. So what they're proposing is that small theater will be, and I don't have data in front of me, the exact proposal in front of me, but in general, about 90% nonprofit use, that would be local organizations. As the city, we've been very clear, this is a local platform. This is not a regional platform. By that, we are prioritizing that local organizations, San Diego organizations have access to this. So nonprofit would be about 90% of it, about 40-60 on the larger stage, 40% nonprofit, 60 profits. That's at a minimum, so that could shift. The idea is the Civic is this very large stage, Balboa is a smaller but still quite large stage. We have a number of organizations that kind of fit between the Lyceum and the Balboa if there was more of a fluid system for them to work. At the same time, there is a number of organizations that need to grow into a space like the very smallest. So part of the negotiations with San Diego Theaters and Northern Pleasant Theater Foundation, at the encouragement of the city, has been that Performing Arts Fund, which we underwrite for our annual contract, is guaranteed to reduce the cost for these small nonprofits to use a small and to a lesser extent the medium size, so that we have guaranteed access, which was not the case with the private. So I can assure you that the original intent of making the voice much more accessible to our small organizations and our community, our theaters and performing arts organizations that have had historically less access will be prioritized. We can make sure that's codified.
And so that's likely going to council in January.
So that does not have to go to council because this is important for the community to understand. Park Plaza Theater Foundation is obligated to us, the city, to operate that facility as an outside operator. They don't have to bring it to us.
So my question is, when would be a good time, once we know that this is actually going to happen, for San Diego Theaters Inc. and anybody from the board to come and make a presentation to the commission, the full commission, just to share what's happening, answer any questions that folks might have, and just kind of push the reset button. This is officially happening.
Yeah. Probably October, unless we hear that there is more something to fast forward it. But right now they are in negotiations. Now the meetings in the Horton Plaza Theater Foundation are monthly meetings, and they are to the public. So the public can attend those meetings. There is an ad hoc committee that is negotiating between the two entities that are not public meetings. So, you know, based on what we hear in the community, if we can fast forward, so there's an update in September, we can make that happen. Otherwise, it's it.
So could I just ask at the full commission meeting in September, Jonathan, that you just give, you know, a minute on all of this, and then Val, could we make a note that for the October commission meeting, we would like a presentation from San Diego Theaters Inc., I guess, plus somebody from the board, just to be able to make a, you know, 5-10 minute presentation, assuming that that still remains the most appropriate time to do that.
And I would, as a corollary to that, I would recommend that we push out to the San Diego Theater Alliance at all to make sure that they are aware of that and that they are at least setting people who can then pass along, because there's a lot of, missing
Right.
going on right now. So we want to make sure that people are getting it straight from us as well.
Candace following that?
She, I don't believe so.
So then maybe we could specifically invite some folks from that group to come to that meeting, and maybe as part of public comment, if it makes sense for them to kind of, state what the concern is or whatever, some way, whatever the most appropriate way is of making sure that that is addressed during the presentation, right? Because the goal is to have clear communication. Yes, Commissioner.
The redevelopment of Horton Plaza and bringing in additional space is, the Balboa Theater is right on the corner and the Lyceum is just over, 100 feet away from that. Is there going to be any interior space, for meeting areas or anything that rests inside rather than on the exterior, like a meeting space, or is there any conversation about that?
Yeah, extensive. And, at any time, if you'd like a tour of the Lyceum, that's easy. So one of the benefits of rep not having their office spaces there is the plan right now is, when I said the plan, the proposal coming from San Diego Theaters, so those office spaces would be turned into meeting spaces, but also rehearsal spaces. The ultimate goal is that those spaces evolve into a formalized incubator program. So that one or two theater companies could be incubating, giving them access to the professional resources that San Diego Theaters has, that the rep could never really provide them.
And then specific facilities outside of the existing theater. It's very difficult to have people in the theater who can't have meetings with face to face when they're sitting in row styles.
Oh, right.
Something that would provide a service but outside of the actual facility. So
Outside the actual
outside of the theater, but in close proximity.
Yeah, it's, if you remember the old space, I mean, it's just kind of hidden in the ground. But,
It's nice.
yeah, nice pit, but still, if you went down the stairs and went to the left, went around where the bathrooms were there, the meeting spaces, the offices were along that sort of back. Wall.
Okay.
So, and upstairs along the same place. So that's where they had like, executive offices, box office.
And we attended a meeting there to the right where it was just a black room.
Yeah, that's the small block
Right,
box
that-
space.
that's something that was more functional.
Yeah.
And more accessible to our team.
Yeah.
Creators. Thank you for the clarification.
Fine point on that lobby area, because of some, they've moved the elevators around a bit, that's going to provide more space in the lobby. The idea is the lobby space can actually function as a convening event space in itself.
See, can that be part of whatever the presentation is, so the folks are aware of that? I think that would be really helpful, right?
Yeah, I think that from the people who come to me, so just as an FYI, I got a representative of some smaller theaters who came to me as commissioner and said, hey, we have some concerns, we'd like some updates, and so I've been communicating that with Jonathan and Ann, so I think that this is a great opportunity for those smaller companies to get a briefing and allay some of their concerns, because they were understandably disappointed with the relationship with the rep and not having access to the space. One question that just because of the Performing Arts Fund and how much rent rate, we have an idea yet of how much would be charged to those companies for use of space yet?
There is a general perform in place, I can't say on the top of my head, happy to share that.
Maybe we just stick with that.
Like
Sure.
hundreds, thousands.
I honestly don't want to say, it is more reasonable than what the government is charging.
Okay, good.
I think the biggest, from my perspective, one of the biggest attractions to this is we can still have one or possibly two theater companies and residents But they are not going to be to move all of their operations in there, which is going to allow the incubating and the rest of the field to actually use the facility in one good way. So it won't feel like it is owned by one entity. Which still, there still is an executive director of the Front Plaza Theater Foundation. So as they're interfacing with the ED, the ED is at the table for all of this.
Yeah.
So she should be conveying the purpose. And I would encourage people to ask.
Yeah, I don't know if these groups or individuals have been going to her, to ask these questions, so that's the other thing.
The historic, she make a presentation about once a year for us because there were specific line items of funding specifically for them and once a year. Basically, conference.
Yes, and she did not make a presentation this year, for two reasons. One is because everything has been, in question. And number two, from a contract perspective. Actually, I'm gonna pause on that. So we are now in a place where it would make sense for her to present as well as part of that whole team.
Prior to June 2024.
Oh,
Yes.
like within the next couple months,
Yes,
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What I can tell you for sure is that as far as the Department of Cultural Affairs budgets, there continues to be the same financial allocation as we have had for the last 4 years. $300,000. That has not changed. The scope of services tightened. So Burton Plaza Theater Foundation has been first scope of services asked to, with great intent, find and negotiate with an outside operator who will keep the city's original purpose of that space. You have a chair that's been very
Like golden hall meeting, that was many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That was just a kind of obvious.
Yeah, but your
That's
point,
why we need
right?
to here.
There we go.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay, so running through any other questions on that? Okay, so I'll move through the rest of these quite quickly. So the last part of that is, of course, I just want to make sure that you're up to speed on Civic Core and tangentially Civic Theater. You've heard in the media that, you know, Civic was about some grabs, and there's concerns around that. With the no developers bidding for all 5 blocks of this core, then that gives the mayor's office lots of flexibility to negotiate block by block. So Civic Theaters will be moving forward with multi-million-dollar refresh of Civic. New carpeting, yeah.
Not to be confused with a redo.
Oh, no. But it is gonna be new carpeting, box office, that kind of thing, to start to message that the Civic is here to stay. So that's exciting news. Okay, the one thing that I want to say about the funding program that will be discussed in more detail in policy funding is far south border, far south border north. As you guys see in the newsletter, it's gone through a second iteration. So we've now identified a number of arts organizations that have received ample funding. I think it's $140,000 per organization. To the organizational partners in far south border north. This has become a very, very, very exciting initiative. What is really helpful with that is We have our South Florida Forum. And then the, speaking of, that Catalyst is very involved in. We will be announcing a grants program for, World Design Capital. It will be a $1 million grants program. And then we have our new funding program, Impact. So in the matter of 5 months, there's a huge amount of money. Should I pause for a minute?
Want to let him know that he can still listen to the meeting if he wants to. Oh, yeah, he doesn't need to
I
leave.
didn't tell, I said you can stay on the.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Sorry. Okay.
So should I start over on
Please
that?
do.
Okay. You all have very good times. Everybody was, you all have been trained and concerned about people who are. Okay, so. What's exciting, and I hope you're hearing this in the community, is the number of artists have been commissioned through Far South Florida Park. Just reminding you, that's $4.75 million. Now, the number of organizations that have been contracted to partner with them. We're seeing huge impact in the community we've never seen before. In fact, even going into Southeast San Diego, there were 3 Far South Florida organizational grants that went into the Black Arts District area, which is, first time ever for them to receive that kind of impact funding. We have that happening. World Design Capital will be announcing their $1 million grants program at city funding by the end of October. And then it is open to arts and culture, as well as business improvement districts, profit-based design, etc. And then our new impact category will be discussing policy and funding. So I couldn't be happier in the way that we are really seeing shifts in the way that we are investing in the community. And that is without disturbing our LGBTs. This is all in addition to that. So very exciting. And we're here in nothing. I look at that.
The team is still understaffed, compared to comparable cities. In fact, the form that you all are taking is spectacular.
Yeah.
We always say thank you, but we don't say it enough. What you all are able to accomplish is absolutely just marvelous.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Do you think that it's too early to start getting word? Stories, articles, whatever. I don't think a lot, no one, small one.
I agree.
But the general, I mean, I think part of this creating that secret San Diego fast becoming a global sort of art center, and we're moving that direction. Like there is. Really.
Public art communications department and our department's public information officer. They do disseminate information. I hope that you guys are on the listserv for the city press announcements. You're supposed to be. You're not getting them. Beth, can you fix that? So not just the newsletters, they should be getting press announcements out of the communications department.
Okay.
So it does go out, whether or not the video news got a good question.
We could be for it, but we could, sure.
You can help get through that.
Well, sure, but I can. There's just don't send out a press release. That's the press release. Then you gotta call the journal, you gotta talk. Write the story. And I can get you John about one. I'll give you an exclusive negotiation. I'll just shoot a big media platforms and Tribune, maybe ABC or something, but here's a great story for you. Great for Sunday arts and leisure. conversation, John, involved with her about arts and culture and what's going on in San Diego. Because, you know, that condominium or that apartment, complex, are not getting these press releases.
So I'm gonna respectfully say, welcome to the city. It's committed with the city book.
Right.
We know how to do this. City communications controls all of it. I wouldn't say they don't know how to, but, in the big,
Right.
you know that the city messages.
The mayor has a specific message. And what we're doing, which is amazing, is not always aligned with the messaging of the mayor going into a reelection. I can be sure.
Yeah, no, you're right. Although I do know the mayor, although I do know that, you know, from what I've heard, the mayor's really sensitive about culture. So, but maybe they're more important than open. You know, the funding for all that, so I can't get, they don't, doesn't want to have any.
May I offer though, and I want to be respectful of time, your meeting is just run over. One thing, now, this is not exactly what you're talking about, but one thing that we would like to do is upstairs in the gallery, we will be having a CD Prize exhibition. And just to remind you that our prize happens every year. It's a nonprofit organization. But it is our Pritzker Prize of local contemporary visual artists. Because we have invested all of this in creatives in our city over the last year, that is never happened. We would like to do an event in early November that acknowledges all of the individual artists and creatives that have benefited from this, but also to thank you. We also have the individual artist fellowship, $2,000 that we were able to award using California Arts Council money. So we'd like to keep that in it. We can do special video on that event. So, but that's something that we actually would ask commissioners to help with. We don't necessarily have a capacity to do that in the level that we would like to do it. It should really be kind of honorific, you know, a somewhat elegant event to, you know, recognize that this creative work of us is
I'm happy to help. I mean, all I would probably do is arts and leisure editor. If that's worth it coming up. That's what I see.
Pam Craig is the arts editor at UT.
And they,
Yeah, Craig, I assume she's.
that's KRH,
I know.
She is, yeah, she's the one.
KRH.
Yeah, lovely one.
And then I have one more thing.
Yeah.
To bring up. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a way to wind it up. So before I get to do that, retreats.
Oh,
Never retreat.
So Madam Chair, we've had a hard time pulling everybody together over the summer.
yeah.
So the question is, do we want to do a retreat? If so, when? You're on that committee. We really ran into issues with getting a date. The good news is that everybody, all the commissioners are so enthusiastic, everybody will attend. The problem is you can't get the time that works for everybody. So it's up to you all whether they program if you have the holidays. So
That's
it's really up to you.
Those holidays come up fast. So, I think if you're going to have it, do you think a month is enough time to prepare a vote?
Pretty much supposed to be prepared, it's just finding the time.
Or something?
It is over. Well,
No, it's thought.
I think we gotta do a new, doodle poll with dates into like late September, early October, maybe.
Or after Thanksgiving.
I've already requested alternate days for mid-October, and the facilitator, which is important to commissioners,
Yeah.
was out of town for a week, so she's just gotten back. Procurement takes a little bit of time, so I think the end of September is cutting it too close, but mid-October is reasonable if you'd like to move forward.
Yeah, great for Halloween.
Oh, my
Are
goodness.
you serious?
Or 23 or 24.
Yes. Yes.
It's getting earlier.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do it. Okay, so the most exciting news from Ann's perspective. Signature authority.
Oh, yes.
So we finally have signature authority. We don't have to go through the purchasing department. Gabrielle's life has become infinitely easier. For those of you who don't quite understand what that means, the contracts with the grantees historically take 68 months to get processed in City Hall. I can now sign on these things, so it'll be reduced to about 2 months. So we'll have a big batch of contracts signed on Monday. Finance has 30 days, it'll probably take 15 days. So by the end of December, we'll have 80% of that. Funding out to probably 50%.
And the ones that are above the amount that you can sign, the COO are now signed, so none of them have to go to purchasing.
They do, but,
It's a small amount, but
You want to sit in someone's house.
Yeah.
Okay, good, all right.
Congratulations. That's
Yeah.
Great.
you know, the exciting stuff, you know, in City Hall.
Well, being able to
Signature
extend,
authority.
say,
Yeah.
months, getting the money into our creative partners months earlier.
Yeah, shoot, hey, that's fantastic.
Has everything gone out, 100% of everything from last time, all that? Okay. Good, high five.
This is something you've been working on for well over a year.
Yeah.
It's the dogged determination. It's really supposed to be. Thank you and the team for pushing.
Well, it's also, it's taken some strategy. You all have, you know, weighed in, some of our grantees have weighed in.
If I can give some props to our illustrious chair for being
Yeah.
inside and doing exactly what the chair should do. So that's the most positive.
Absolutely.
All right, anything else to come before the meeting, before we adjourn?
Oh, one thing, could I just, I just need some information about the our prize. But if that's what you want, you can try to pitch there, because you have all those things together.
Yeah.
I just want to give myself that one and come up with a medium. I will submit it to you all. This pitch approved, and then I can go to.
Do we have a date and time?
Not, yeah. Do we know? I know you were looking into the use of the room.
For the art prize?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Who would we go to first of all?
Start with me and Bill. And then we have another team member who's having involved.
It's called the art. Correct.
It's so no names, there's no control. No.
Yeah, there really should be, but there's
Yeah.
not.
How much is it?
There's actually not a prize, there's not a cash reward.
Oh, what's the
I
prize?
think it's just go.
City grant.
Oh,
That's
What's
this.
the prize? The
grant.
movie prize?
The prize is an exhibition and a lot of media. around.
Oh, okay. So with that, let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting. I want to thank you so much. Look forward to our next meeting. Are we all done recording?
Pritzker's 500. But to your point, that's city that way. That's a prize.
They would love
That is an exhibition. Like this.